Good evening, dear students. Today marks the beginning of a truly beautiful and enriching journey, our exploration of poetry. Poetry is not just about rhyme and rhythm, it is the language of the soul, a mirror to human emotions, and a window into the deepest corner of the human heart. And what better way to start than with William Wordsworth, the poet who believed that poetry should be the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. So, we begin today with one of his most profound and philosophical works, Odd Imitations of Immortality from the Recollections of Early Childhood. This is not just a poem, it's a meditation on memory, childhood, loss, and the divine spark within us. Through this ode, Wordsworth reflects on how the purity and brightness of of childhood slowly fade as we grow older, yet something sacred still lingers. As we go through the poem in detail, I invite you to read not just with your eyes, but with your heart. Let the words speak to you. Let the emotions echo within, because great poetry doesn't just explain, it transforms. Let's begin this poetic voyage with open minds and open hearts. Welcome to the world of Wordsworth. First of all, we should discuss about this term, that is odd. So odd is a type of lyric poetry with its origin in ancient Greece. Odes are elaborately structured poems praising or glorifying an event or individual, describing nature intellectually as well as emotionally. It is often a form of praise or celebration. Um, It originated in ancient Greece, were initially accompanied by music and theatrical elements, right? So, Intimations of Immortality was composed by William Wordsworth in between 1802 to 1804 and later published in 1807 in his collection Poems in two volumes. It considered one of the greatest odes in the English language. This poem reflects Wordsworth's deep philosophical and spiritual concerns, especially about childhood, memory, and the human soul, and fading the visionary gleams as one grows older. It was written during a period when Wordsworth was feeling a sense of loss, not of someone, but of something within. The childlike wonder, the ability to perceive the divine beauty of nature with freshness and awe. So, the poem is deeply inspired by Wordsworth's personal life, his belief in his belief in Platonism. Platonism is the idea of the soul's pre existence, and his romantic view that childhood is the purest form of existence. Wordsworth believed that as we grow up, we lose touch with the divine truths we were once connected in our early years. So, this ode is a philosophical and emotional journey, beginning with a sense of loss, followed by reflection, and ending with consolation and renewed spiritual strength. It is divided into 11 ये 11 stanzas में है. It is divided into 11 stanzas, and its tone shifts from melancholy to acceptance, from despair to hope. The poem discusses the beauty of nature and the power of memory, and the idea that though we lose the vivid spiritual vision of childhood, we gain wisdom and a deeper understanding of life as we grow, right? So this poem opens with with the poet lamenting that divine beauty he once saw in nature during his childhood no longer appears the same. Like flowers still bloom, the rain still grows, but something feels missing. So that celestial light is fading. So let's read the poem line by line. So these lines are taken from Wordsworth's most quoted lines from his short yet profound poem "My Heart Leaps Up," that was written in 1802. So these lines, the child is father of the men, and I could wish my days to be bound each to each by natural pity. So child is a young person in the early stage of life. Father is the symbolic for origin or creator, and man refers to the adult self. So this paradoxical line expresses a deep philosophical idea that our childhood experiences shape our adult personality. What we are in childhood determines who we become in maturity. So it reflects Wordsworth's belief that in the continuity of life and the spiritual wisdom of childhood. The childhood is not just a preparation of adulthood, it is the foundation of it. So these lines are perfectly aligned with Wordsworth romantic philosophy that children are closer to divine truth and purity, and that their intuition and innocence are superior to adult reasoning. In the second line, he said, "And I could wish my days to be." So here, Wordsworth expresses a personal desire that all the days of his life, from childhood to adulthood, remain interconnected, not fragmented. So he wants his past, present, and future to reflect a moral and spiritual unity. The third line, bound each to each by natural pity. बाउंड का मतलब यहाँ पर है टाइड और कनेक्टेड से. Natural is instinctive, which is not artificial, and pity refers to devotion, especially spiritual and moral. So the poet Wordsworth wishes that each phase of his life, childhood, youth, and adulthood, be joined together by a sense of natural devotion or reverence of life and nature. So, natural pity refers to a deep, instinctive respect for the natural world of one's roots and for the spiritual meaning of existence. So, these three opening lines celebrate the idea that childhood is sacred, and that the emotions and instincts we have as children carry truth and purity. So Wordsworth wanted to preserve that spiritual connection throughout his life, believing in the moral continuity of the soul. Now the next lines are, so this is the opening stanza of the poem. There was a time when meadow, grove and stream. मिडो का मतलब होता है अ फील्ड ऑफ ग्रास और फ्लावर्स. ग्रूव इज़ अ स्मॉल ग्रुप ऑफ ट्रीज, and stream, you know that a small flowing river. So the speaker recalls a time in his childhood when the natural world, meadows, trees and rivers appeared magical and alive विद स्पिरिचुअल ब्यूटी. तो वो एक टाइम की बात करता है, कहता है ना, देयर वॉज अ टाइम जब नदी, ट्रीज और मिडोज, मतलब अ फील्ड ऑफ ग्रास एंड फ्लावर्स, जब अपीयर्ड होते थे मैजिकल और अलाइव दिखते थे उसको विद स्पिरिचुअल ब्यूटी. मतलब एक टाइम था, और वो टाइम क्या था उसका? चाइल्डहुड, राइट. The earth and every common sight. So this line broadens the view. Even ordinary things of daily life seemed extraordinary and divine to the child's eyes. So, uh, and the next line is, to me did seem apparelled in the celestial light. So apparelled का मतलब होता है dressed और clothed, मतलब कुछ पहनना. Celestial is heavenly or divine. So nature looked like it was draped in heavenly brightness. जैसे nature ने कुछ brightest, कुछ divine drape किया है अपने ऊपर. nature ने कुछ ऐसा पहना है जो कि काफ़ी heavenly है, काफ़ी divine है. So Wordsworth suggests that as a child he had the vision to see the divine in nature, a perception that fades with age. तो वो पहली 3 से 4 लाइन में वो यही कह रहा है कि जब वो छोटा था, मतलब एक समय ऐसा था उसका, उसके बचपन का, जब उसे पेड़, ग्रास, फील्ड्स, स्ट्रीम, सब जगह पर उसे कुछ डिविनिटी दिखती थी. एक उसका अलग ही विजन था. लेकिन जैसे जैसे टाइम आगे बढ़ा और उसका बचपन पीछे छूट गया, तो उसका जो वो ये विजन था वो भी छूट गया. द ग्लोरी एंड फ्रेशनेस ऑफ अ ड्रीम. सो चाइल्डहुड वॉज फिल्ड विद अ सेंस ऑफ वॉन्डर. ठीक है, एक सेंस ऑफ वॉन्डर था, लाइक अ ड्रीम दैट इज fresh and full of light, full of glory. So this captures the romantic idea that children perceive the world in its purest and most sacred form. It is now, it is not now as it hath been of yore, right? सो hath जो होता है वो ओल्ड इंग्लिश है. हैज़ इसका मतलब होता है, एंड योर का मतलब होता है डिस्टेंस. योर का मतलब होता है डिस्टेंट पास. सो नाउ एज इफ इट इज़ नॉट नाउ, इसका मतलब है नाउ एज एन एडल्ट द पोएट लेमेंट्स दैट थिंग्स आर नो लॉन्गर द सेम. चीज़ें बिल्कुल अब पहले जैसी नहीं रही हैं. द ग्लोरी ऑफ childhood vision is lost with age. Turn wheresoever I may, by night or day. Turn soever I may, by night or day. So wheresoever का मतलब होता है wherever. So no matter where he goes or what time it is, the poet Wordsworth can't recapture the divine feeling he once had while looking at nature. The things which I have seen, I now can see no more. So this final line of the stanza expresses deep nostalgia and loss, though the objects of nature are still present and the emotional and spiritual vision is gone. So the child's sacred view of the world has vanished. So the stanza, the first stanza's tone is melancholic, nostalgic, and spiritual. We can see some of the themes here, like loss of childhood vision, there's fading divine connection, and the contrast between innocent perception and adult disillusion. Right? So this stanza as the setting tone for the whole ode. ये पहले स्टेंजा में इन्होंने पूरा सेटिंग दे दिया है पोएम का कि पोएम किस बारे में है. The romantic themes of childhood purity, loss and nature as spiritual guide is representing here. The idea of celestial light and glory. These two, as it is these are actually representing as symbols of divine perception. Now let's read the second stanza. The rainbow comes and goes. Comes and goes का मतलब हो गया appears briefly then fades. So the rainbow, a classical symbol of beauty and wonder, is transient. Its appearance is momentary, reminding the poet of the impermanence of joy and glory. And the lovely is the rose. So even now, the poet sees the beauty in nature In the delicate rose, nature's external beauty remains intact, but something within his own perception has changed. The moon doth with delight. So the moon joyfully observes the sky, the delight. This personification reflects how poet sees nature as alive and aware. This is a common romantic theme, right? Look round her when the heavens are bare. So even when the sky is clear and empty, the moon gazes around joyfully, showing that beauty persists even in simplicity and silence. Waters on starry nights are beautiful and fair. So, starlight, the starry night, the light of stars, reflecting on water, मतलब जो आसमान, मतलब रात हो रही है और आसमान में स्टार्स हैं, तो उसको स्टारी नाइट बोला. उनका जो रिफ्लेक्शन है वो नदी पर दिख रहा है, वाटर पर दिख रहा है. सो दिस इज़ एक्चुअली ब्रेथ टेकिंग साइट. आप इमेजिन करिए, a starlight reflecting on water is a it's really breathtaking sight. So Wordsworth acknowledges that the external beauty of nature is unchanged even though his emotional connection to it has dimmed, right? The sunshine is glorious birth, but yet I know wherever I go. So sunrise, the sunshine represents a renewal of life, divine, a divine beginning each day. So this line suggests that natural wonders still inspire awe, and but they lack the mystical quality they once held in childhood. But yet I know, it means despite all the natural beauty around him, um, Wordsworth feels a profound loss wherever I go. So he feels a profound loss, the glory, the divine light, and the spiritual wonder he once perceived in the nature as a child has vanished. He mourns for the loss of spiritual vision, not the loss of objects themselves. So the key themes and symbols in this stanzas are the rainbow, right? The rainbow, rose, moon, water, and sunshine. So these are the symbols of natural beauty. Glory is it's a spiritual essence and divine vision. लॉस जो हुआ है यहाँ पर वो किसी ब्यूटी का नहीं हुआ है, बट ऑफ द इनर एबिलिटी टू सी इट स्पिरिचुअलिटी. वो ये कह रहे हैं कि ऐसा नहीं है कि चीज़ें बदल गई हैं, चीज़ें तो वही हैं, बट द विजन आई हैड इन माई चाइल्डहुड दैट हैज़ लॉस्ट एक्चुअली. वो विजन खो गया है, ठीक है. सो देयर इज अ कंट्रास्ट in this stanza between external beauty and internal perception. External beauty still remains, but the eternal perception which fades with age. So the romantic concept that children are closer to the divine truth and that adults become alienated from this purity. तो जब वर्ड्सवर्थ बच्चे थे वो भी उस डिवाइन को फील कर पाते थे, उस ब्यूटी को फील कर पाते थे. लेकिन जैसे जैसे वो बड़े हुए, उनका चाइल्डहुड ख़त्म हुआ, वैसे वैसे वो जो उनकी क्लोजनेस थी टू द डिवाइन ट्रूथ, टू द नेचर, दैट becomes alienated from this purity. So this stanza represents how nature is still visually beautiful but spiritually distant to the poet, right? That there had passed away a glory from the earth. So this line links back to the previous stanzas, concluding Clement, summarizing the emotional loss of spiritual connection with nature. Now, while the birds thus sing a joyous song, and while the young lambs bound as to the tabor sound. So tabor एक basically एक small drum होता है that used in rusting music, ठीक है. और बाउंड जो होता है वो बाउंडेशन टाइप रहता है, लीप बेसिकली. सो इवन इन द मिडल ऑफ द वाइब्रेंट स्प्रिंग सेलिब्रेशन, द birds singing a joy song, ठीक है, बर्ड्स जो है वो गा रहे हैं एक प्यारा सा गाना। एंड द लैम्स, द यंग लैम्स, लीपिंग, दे आर लीपिंग, दे आर बाउंडिंग एज इफ डांसिंग टू द ड्रम्स। तो ये बता रहे हैं कि जो पहले जो ये देखते थे कि बर्ड्स जो है वो बहुत ही जॉयस सॉन्ग गा रहे हैं, यंग लैम्स जो है वो लीप कर रहे हैं किस पर, टेबल्स यानी कि ड्रम की साउंड पर। सो टू मी अलोन देयर केम अ थॉट ऑफ ग्रीफ। इसका मतलब ये है कि डिस्पाइट द जॉयफुल सराउंडिंग्स, इतनी सारी अच्छी अच्छी चीज़ें हो रही हैं इसके आसपास कि बर्ड्स गाना गा रहे हैं, लैम्प्स जो हैं एक तरह से डांस कर रहे हैं ड्रम्स की आवाज़ पर, लेकिन डिस्पाइट दीज जॉयफुल सराउंडिंग्स to me alone there came a thought of grief. It means he, Wordsworth, feels isolated despite the joyful surrounding. He feels isolated. The beauty around him is not enough to remove his grief, right, over the loss of childhood wonder. तो इतना सब कुछ अच्छा अच्छा हो रहा है इसके आसपास, लेकिन ये सब कुछ बेकार है, इनकेपेबल है इसके ग्रीफ को ओवरकम करने में, रिमूव करने में। और इसका जो ग्रीफ है वो ये है कि इसका जो बचपन है वो खो गया है। अ टाइमली utterance gave the thought relief. So here a moment of expression, perhaps poetic or spiritual, which helps him to release that sorrow. So Wordsworth believed that he believes that putting feelings into words restores emotional strength. And I again am strong. So this marks a turning point. ये जो लाइन है ये टर्निंग पॉइंट है, फ्रॉम द सोरो टू रिन्यूड स्पिरिचुअल स्ट्रेंथ थ्रू इमोशनल एंड पोएटिक सेल्फ एक्सप्रेशन, राइट। द कैटरैक्ट्स ब्लो देयर ट्रम्पेट्स फ्रॉम द स्ट्रीप। कैटरैक्ट्स होता है वाटरफॉल्स, ठीक है। स्टीप का मतलब होता है माउंटेन स्लोप, ठीक है। सो द साउंड ऑफ वाटरफॉल इज लाइकेंड टू trumpets echoing through nature. This is a dramatic and uplifting image of nature's vitality and music. No more shall grief of mine the season wrong. So the poet Wordsworth decides not to let his personal sorrow, मतलब ये कह रहे हैं नो मोर शेल ग्रीफ ऑफ माइंड, तो जो इसका ये जो पर्सनल ग्रीफ है अब ये इसको और ज़्यादा अलाउ नहीं करेगा टू डेम्पन द स्पिरिट ऑफ स्प्रिंग. So he surrenders to the joy of nature here. So he decided not to let his personal sorrow dampen the spirit of spring. He surrenders to the joy of nature. I hear the echoes through the mountains throng. The winds come to me from the fields of sleep. So echoes and winds they both symbolize nature's voice calling him back to harmony. And fields of sleep may refer to dream-like meadows, or this is a metaphor of for the depth of memory or subconscious, right? And all the earth is gay. गे का मतलब होता है हैप्पी, पूरी जो धरती है वो खुश हो गई है. Land and sea give themselves up to jollity, and with the heart of May doth every beast keep holiday. So May, heart of May. May is the peak of spring, brings festivity, festive energy to all living things. So Wordsworth personified the land, sea, animals, beast जो है animals, and all parties, मतलब they all are participating in joy and celebration. तो ये जितनी भी चीज़ें, मतलब पूरी जो धरती है वो बहुत हैप्पी है, लैंड सी हर कोई इन्जॉय कर रहा है, हार्ट ऑफ विद द हार्ट ऑफ माई, मतलब ये जो एक सीज़न होता है स्प्रिंग का जिसमें हर चीज़ बहुत ही अच्छी होती है, इसमें हर एक जानवर हॉलीडे पर है, मतलब इंजॉय कर रहा है. दो चाइल्ड ऑफ जॉय शाउट राउंड मी, लेट मी हियर thy shouts, though happy shepherd boy. So the poet directly address a joyful child. यहाँ पर ये एक बच्चे को डायरेक्टली एड्रेस कर रहा है, joyful child, a shepherd boy, a symbolic of innocence, freedom, and harmony with nature. He longs to feel that pure happiness again, and perhaps by hearing the child's laughter, so he can reconnect with his own lost inner child through this character, through this shepherd boy, right? सो स्प्रिंग की यहाँ पर बात हुई है जो कि सिंबल है रीबर्थ का, ये जो लाइन है ना ये वाली, एंड विद द हार्ट ऑफ मे, यहाँ पर स्प्रिंग की बात हुई है. सो एक सिंबल है रीबर्थ एंड जॉय का. देयर इज़ अ इमोशनल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बिटवीन नेचर्स ब्यूटी एंड ग्रीफ. ठीक है, ग्रीफ की बात हुई है यहाँ पर, उसकी ब्यूटी की बात हुई है, तो यहाँ पर एक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है. ठीक है, चाइल्डहुड को स्पिरिचुअल आइडियल माना गया है यहाँ पर. एंड देयर इज़ अ रिकनेक्शन इन द लास्ट लाइन विद जॉय थ्रू चाइल्ड लाइक इनोसेंस एंड नेचर्स एनर्जी, राइट? नाउ द नेक्स्ट stanza is, so the next lines are, ye blessed creatures, I have heard the call, yet to each other make I see, the heavens laugh with you in your jubilee. So Wordsworth addresses the birds, lambs, and flowers, all parts of nature, as blessed creature. तो यहाँ पर ये blessed creatures को यहाँ पर बोला है उसने, birds को, lambs को और flowers को, इन तीनों को उसने बोला है blessed creatures. So they all are part of nature as blessed creatures. He says he can hear, I have heard the call. इसका मतलब है he can hear their joyous communication with one another and feels that even the sky, the heavens, yet to each other में, वो कह रहा है कि ये जो blessed creatures है ना, birds, lambs और flowers, मैं इनकी बातें सुनता हूँ जो ये एक दूसरे से करते हैं, मैंने इनको देखा है एक दूसरे से बात करते हुए. The heavens laugh, so he says he can hear their joyous communication with one another and feels that even the skies, the heavens are rejoicing them. तो इनकी जो ये बातें ये सुनकर heaven भी, आसमान भी लाफ यानी कि खुश होता है, रिजॉय करता है, हंसता है, with you in your jubilee. So even the skies are rejoicing with them. So a jubilee implies like a festival like celebration. तो वो कह रहा है कि ये जो ब्लेस्ड क्रिएचर्स हैं इनकी बातें मैंने भी सुनी हैं और इनको बात करते देखा है, और ऐसा लगता है कि जैसे स्काई भी, हेवन भी इनकी बातें सुनकर खुश होता है, और जब वो खुश होता है तो ऐसा लगता है जैसे कि कोई फेस्टिवल हो, फेस्टिवल लाइक सेलिब्रेशन हो. माई हार्ट इज़ एट योर फेस्टिवल, माई हेड हार्ट इट्स coronal, the full of your bliss I feel at all. So though he felt grief earlier, पहले वाले stanzas में उसको क्या फील हो रहा था, उसका ग्रीफ फील हो रहा था, but now his heart begins to reconnect with nature's joy. जो फेस्टिवल की बात हुई ना, जुबली, वहाँ उसको वो फील कर रहा है. So he now begins to reconnect with nature's joy. His heart is a part of the celebration, the festival, and his head feels crowned. coronal का मतलब है यहाँ पर crowned. तो उसका जो दिल है वो अब सेलिब्रेशन का पार्ट बन गया है, इंजॉय कर रहा है. उसके जैसे उसका जो हेड है उसको कोरोनल फील हो रहा है, जैसे कि उसको कोई क्राउन कर दिया गया है. सो दिस सिम्बलाइजेस ऑनर एंड इमोशनल यूनिटी विद द नेचुरल वर्ल्ड. The fullness of your bliss, I feel it all. It means he truly feels the completeness, the fullness. अब इसको उनकी जो हैप्पीनेस है, बर्ड्स, लैम्स और फ्लावर्स की जो हैप्पीनेस है, उसका जो इसका उसकी वजह से इसको अब क्या फ़ील हो रहा है, बहुत अच्छे से बहुत ट्रूली फील हो रहा है कंप्लीटनेस ऑफ देयर हैप्पीनेस। तो ये उन सब चीज़ों को फील कर रहा है, ठीक है। ओ इविल डे, इफ़ आई वॉज सलन वाइल अर्थ हर सेल्फ इज adorning this sweet May morning. So he says, it would be a terrible day, oh evil day. It means it would be a terrible day indeed if he was sad while the earth herself is adorned herself. तो ये कह रहा है कि जो वो हो सकता था एक टेरिबल डे अगर वो दुखी रहता, जबकि जो अर्थ है वो तो अपने आप को एडॉर्न कर रही है। द अर्थ हर सेल्फ इज़ एडॉर्निंग हर सेल्फ, अर्थ हर सेल्फ इज़ एडॉर्निंग हर सेल्फ। तो लेकिन वो दुखी है तो उसके लिए तो फिर बुरा दिन हो जाता। लेकिन अभी क्या किया इसने, तो इन्जॉय करना चालू किए कर दिया है। सो ऑन दिस स्वीट मॉर्निंग, और आज से ही ये जो मई की मॉर्निंग है, स्वीट मॉर्निंग है मई मंथ की, तभी से इसने खुश रहना चालू कर दिया है। जॉयज़ जो ये नेचर है इसके लिए इसने जॉयफुल फील करना चालू कर दिया है। सो ही रिमाइंड्स हिमसेल्फ दैट सोरो वुड बी अननेचुरल इन सच अ वाइब्रेंट सीजन, कि ये जो इतना अच्छा वाइब्रेंट सीजन है, मई का जो महीना है, स्प्रिंग इसमें चल रहा है अभी भी, तो ये इसमें सोरो रखना, सोरो फील करना बहुत ही अननेचुरल होगा। And the children are calling on every side in thousands, valley far wide, fresh flowers while the sun shines warm, and the babe leaps up on his mother's arm. So ये सब जगह की बात कर रहा है, in all around the countryside, in valleys and everywhere, children are picking flowers, they are culling. तो जो बच्चे हैं ना वो फूलों को मतलब वो ले रहे हैं, पिक कर रहे हैं, तोड़ रहे हैं वो हर जगह से। ऑल अराउंड द कंट्री साइड, इन द विलेज, एवरीवेयर चिल्ड्रन आर पिकिंग अप, दे आर कलिंग द फ्लावर्स। द सन इज़ वार्म है सन, while the fresh flowers वो ले रहे हैं, while the sun shines warm, so the warm sun is shining. बेबी जो है वो स्माइल कर रहे हैं, लाफ कर रहे हैं, मतलब लीप कर रहे हैं वो। द बेबीज आर लाफिंग एंड प्लेइंग इन देयर मदर्स आर्म। सो द बेबीज आर लाफिंग एंड प्लेइंग विद देयर मदर्स, एंड दिस इमेजरी is reinforcing joy, innocence, and nature's nurturing energy. I hear, with joy I hear, but there is a tree of many in one, a single field which I have looked upon. Both of them speak of something that is gone. So Wordsworth rejoices in natural sound, right? He rejoices in the natural sounds and sight. नेचुरल साउंड, और यानी कि जो ट्रीज़ की, बर्ड्स की आवाज़ है वो नेचुरल साउंड हो गया, और इनको ये देख रहा है तो ये नेचुरल साइट हो गया। इसको वो रिजॉय कर रहा है। आई हियर विद जॉय आई हियर। जो भी इसने सुना है ये उसको देख रहा है, जो भी ये सुन रहा है उसको ये काफ़ी अच्छे से इन्जॉय कर रहा है। बट सडनली देयर इज़ अ शिफ्ट, कुछ शिफ्ट हुआ है। डिस्पाइट ऑल दीज ब्यूटी, वन पर्टिकुलर ट्री, क्या हुआ, एक ट्री है यहाँ पर, मतलब बहुत सारे ट्री हैं लेकिन उनमें से एक पर्टिकुलर ट्री है, वन पर्टिकुलर ट्री, एंड द फील्ड ही नोज वेल सीम्स टू रिमाइंड ऑफ समथिंग लॉस्ट। अब एक ट्री ने उसको कुछ ऐसा रिमाइंड कराया जिससे कि उसको अपने लॉस का ख्याल आया, एंड समथिंग दैट वॉज वंस, मतलब उस बात ने उसको कुछ पिछला याद दिला दिया जो कि थोड़ा सा अनहैप्पी है। The pensy at my feet doth the same tale repeat. पेंसी जो होता है वो एक फ्लावर होता है। सो इवन अ स्मॉल फ्लावर लाइक पेंसी एट हिज फीट, एक पेंसी फ्लावर जो उसके पैरों पर गिर गया है, दैट सीम्स टू इको दिस फीलिंग ऑफ लॉस। एक कोई पुरानी कहानी है जो कि रिपीट हो गई है, जब उसके पैर पर वो पेंसी फ्लावर गिरा है ना, उस फ्लावर मतलब उस ट्री के फ्लावर ने उसके पैरों पे गिर के कुछ उसको याद दिलाया है. A small flower like pansy at his feet seems to echo this feeling of loss. So nature still carry beauty, but not the divine radiance he once perceived in childhood. Reader is fled the visionary gleam, where is it now, and the glory and dream. So he directly questions, यहाँ तो question पूछे हैं इसने. He directly questions the disappearance of that visionary gleam, that is spiritual, almost mystical brightness with which he used to see the world. The glory and the dream, it refers to the pure joy, wonder, and spiritual depth of childhood perception. So now, as an adult, the poet Wordsworth feels disconnected from it. उसको फिर से अपना वो दुख याद आ गया, जो यहाँ पर ये भूल गया था. ये दो स्टैंजाज में इसने भूल गया था ये. अब तीसरे स्टैंजा में इसको, सॉरी फोर्थ स्टैंजा में इसको फिर से वो सब याद आ गया है. Our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. So Wordsworth begins by saying that being born into this world is not a new beginning, but rather a sleep and forgetting of higher divine state. He implies that the soul existed before birth is purer spiritual form, possibly close to God, and the birth makes us forget that divine origin. The soul that rises with us, our life's star, had had elsewhere its setting and comet from afar. So the soul, which is the guiding light, right, that rises with us as the guiding light or the star of our life. So life, it doesn't begin its journey here. It has come from afar, बहुत पहले से है, possibly from heaven, and had its setting in some higher unknown realm before it rose right with us into the earthly life, not in entire forgetfulness, not in the utter nakedness, but trailing clouds of glory do we come from God who is our home. So the soul does not came into the world empty completely empty and or forgetful, nor entirely bare, which is nakedness, right? Instead we born but instead we born carrying the trailing clouds of glory that echoes of her divine origin. So these lines are some of the most quoted in all English poetry. The soul, he says, comes from the God. The soul he is talking about comes from the God who is a true spiritual home. Who is a true spiritual home. Heavens lies about us in our infancy. So in our childhood, in our infancy, we're still close to this heavenly glory. The child is surrounded by a kind of divine light, innocence, and purity. That is why Wordsworth values the childhood so deeply. It's when the soul is closest to the divine. Shades of the prison house begin to close upon the growing boy. So, as the child grows into a boy, the material world and the earthly limitation begin to close in, symbolized as the prison house. The prison house and brightness of the spiritual vision begins to fade as the soul becomes confined by the physical world. But he beholds the light, and whence it flows, he sees it in his joy. So, yet during this stage, the boy still catches glimpses of that divine light, understands its source, he perceives the beauty and the mystery of life, especially through moments of joy. The youth who daily farther from the east must travel still in nature's priest. So the young men, so the young man, the youth must go farther from the east. It's a metaphor. This is a metaphor from moving away from the spiritual light of origin, the sunrise, the beginning, right? But still, he remains to he remains devoted to the nature as a priest. He still is devoted to nature as a priest, right? Would It would be to his faith he's losing the divine spark but maintains a reverent relationship with other, as by the vision he splendid is on his way attended. At length the man perceives its die away and fade into the light of common day. So the vision splendid, um, it's a divine insight and spiritual connection that slowly fades as man grows older. Eventually, the adulthood, the adult is left with only the light of common day. It means this is a mundane, ordinary world devoid of the supernatural beauty that once filled his childhood vision. So this stanza is very it beautifully reflects romantic themes like the sanctity of childhood, the soul's immortality, divine imagination, and a deep reverence for nature as a spiritual guide, right? Now the next stanza. Earth fills her lap with pleasures of her own. So here poet personifies earth as a nurturing figure like a mother who offers earthly pleasures, which are nature, beauty, senses, etc., to human beings. Yearning she had her in her own natural kind. So earth has her own natural desires or instincts. She provides satisfaction through sensory and physical experience. She has her own way of engaging the human soul, offering material joy and attachment, and even with something of a mother's mind and no unworthy aim. So, earth, like a mother, has good intentions. Her aim is not wrong or malicious. She wants to nurture. She wants to nurture and comfort human beings. If and even if that means diverting them from spiritual truths, her motherly mind wants the child to adjust to the world, right? The homely nurse does all she can to make her foster child her inmate man. So earth is also imagined as a nurse who takes care of us like a foster child, right? Like a foster child. But the key word here is inmate, the inmate man. It suggests that humans are imprisoned in earthly existence, cut off from their spiritual home, that is the God or the home of God, right? फॉरगेट द ग्लोरीज ही हैड नोन, वो भूल गया जो उसके पास गॉड के घर में जो उसके पास जो ग्लोरीज थी, वो इस अर्थली एक्सिस्टेंस में आकर इस मदरली लव को पाकर वो ये भूल गया है. एंड दैट इम्पीरियल पैलेस वेंस ही केम. सो अर्थ थ्रू हर मटीरियल डिस्ट्रैक्शंस gradually makes us forget the spiritual origin, the imperial palace, which symbolizes a divine or heavenly realm from which the soul came. The glories are the memories of that divinity which he has lost when because he is bound by this motherly nature, motherly caring nature of earth, right? So in this stanza we can say that Wordsworth built upon the Platonic idea that the soul existing in a higher spiritual realm before earth. Once born, earth loving distracts us with beauty and joy to help us forget that divine home. So this forgetting, while unfortunate, is shown with empathy. So he too he didn't say कि जो अर्थ है वो enemy है, but a gentle mother doing her best, earth as a gentle mother is doing her best to make us feel at home here. But the reality is different. Our actual home is God's home. So Wordsworth represents a conflict between the spiritual memory and the worldly reality. As we grow older, earth wraps us in comforts, but in doing so, distances us from the divine light we once knew in our childhood, right? Now the next stanza. Behold the child among his newborn blisses, a 6 years darling of pygmy size. So Wordsworth invite us to observe the young child around 6 years old. The child is 6 years old, still basking in the pure joys of early life. The child is describing affectionately as a darling, a small in physical size, that is a pygmy size का मतलब होता है small size, physical size, but immense in spiritual potential. See where mid work of his own hand he lies, fretted by solace of his mother's kisses, right, with light upon him from his father's eyes. So the child, the darling child of 6 years, lies surrounded by his own little creation. अपनी खुद की ही लिटिल क्रिएशन में वो सराउंडेड रहता है. जो उसकी क्रिएशन है, जो लिटिल क्रिएशन है, दैट कैन बी टॉयज, ड्राइंग्स और प्ले थिंग्स, और ही इज प्लेफुली annoyed by his mother's kisses and is under the loving gaze of his father. That light, uh, the light symbolizes affection, approval, and blessing. It's a warm domestic image here, right? See at his feet some little plan or chart, some fragment from his dream of human life, shaped by himself with newly learned art. So, the child has started mimicking adult life, right? uh, like draw he may draw on a plan, made a small map, right, or enacted scenarios he has observed, so showing how he begins to internalize the world around him, and these actions are shaped with newly acquired understanding. So a wedding or a festival, a mourning or a funeral, so the child's play reflects life's major events, both joys and sorrowful. Like weddings है और festival है, ये तो joys है, and mourning है और funeral है, these are sorrowful events. So he imitates what he sees, though he may not yet fully understand and their meaning, right? And this had now his heart, and unto this he frames this his song. So these little enactments become the child's entire world for that moment. He even composes his own songs and dialogues, his own framed songs and dialogues or narratives around them, right? Then will he fit his tongue to dialogues of business, love, or strife. So he tries out adult conversations about love, work, business, or strife, which is conflict, in his innocence, playful way, and showcasing how imitations becomes a learning tool. But it will not be long ere this be thrown aside, and with new joy and pride, the little actor cons another part. So soon he will drop one role, take up another. एक रोल छोड़ता है, दूसरा पकड़ लेता है, like an actor. जैसे actors होते हैं ना, वैसे ही, like an actor changing parts in theater. So this highlight the child's adaptability, but also foreshadow a deeper truth. His divine essence is gradually being replaced by earthly mimicry, filling from time to time his humorous stage with all the person down to palisade age that life brings with her in her equipage. So life is damaged, right? Life is damaged as a traveling theater, bringing characters like joy, sorrow, youth, age, love, and many more. And the child plays all these roles, all these persons over the time. Even the old age, the palisade age, is imitated. His life becomes a performance and shaped by observation and repetition, as if his whole vocation were endless imitation. So, this stanza ends with a reflective sigh. The child's divine originality is being replaced by imitation. His vocation, calling, or purpose now seems to be copying the world, not remembering heaven. So we can see there are some key interpretations like the childhood innocence versus imitation is there. This stanza beautifully contrasts the child's divine purity celebrated in earlier stanzas with gradual loss of that purity through imitating worldly experiences. Imitation को यहाँ पर social conditioning भी दिखाया गया है, as Wordsworth sees this not as natural growth but as a spiritual decline from a heavenly soul to an earthly role play. Through these lines we can say that life is a stage, the child is an actor, but acting here is not liberation, it's an unconscious departure from divine, right? So अभी यहाँ पर इसको थोड़ा सा पॉज करते हैं क्योंकि ये बहुत बड़ा लेक्चर हो गया है ऑलरेडी. सो आई थिंक कि हमें यहीं थोड़ा रुक जाना चाहिए. सो as we have discussed the poem, we have noticed that the poem is rich in imagery, emotion, and metaphysical reflection. And today's discussion has already grown quite detailed and expensive. So we'll take a thoughtful pause here. In the next part of the lecture, we will continue from here and unfold the remaining lines, diving deeper into the Wordsworth exploration of the soul and the loss of divine vision, and the eventual consolation he finds in memory and nature. So I encourage you to reflect on what we have covered so far, especially the transition from childhood wonder to adult imitation, and how Wordsworth laments yet honors the stage. So thank you for being such attentive listeners. Stay curious, stay poetic, and I see you soon for the part 2 of this timeless masterpiece. Until then, take care and keep reading poetry with an open heart. Thank you.